Dave, remember the feeling of watching Saturday morning cartoons with your favorite bowl of sugary cereal?
Sure.
Well, what if I told you that you could recapture that feeling, but without the guilt of eating cereal that's bad for you?
I'd say you must be talking about Magic Spoon.
That's right, Dave. And now you can get a variety pack with 4 featured flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. This pack has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs. Each serving is only 140 calories. They're keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb.
My favorite flavor is the frosted.
Spice up your peanut butter cereal by slicing up some fresh banana in it. That's what I did.
Go to magicspoon.com/AIC to grab a variety pack and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code AIC at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked.
Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/AIC and use the code AIC to save $5.
Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hi.
Dave,
we're not live this week.
We're not. This is not a live episode at a con with like an audience. Instead, we're back in our respective studios.
Did everybody like that? Slam on that subscribe button, hit that like, and leave a comment below.
Yeah, all of that. We're gonna try to do more live shows. That was 2 years in the making. That.
Hopefully the next one doesn't take 2 years.
Yeah, hopefully. So
but thank you to everyone who came out.
Yeah, and you know the audio was it was an adventure. We got there though. It was our namesake, one could say. But from one adventure, Dave, we have a completely different adventure this week.
This is gonna be awesome.
Something very, very new. You know, as most of you out there probably know, that like all of the sports things are happening now. So football's back. So you know, fantasy drafts are the thing. You know, everybody's fantasy teams. There have been some really interesting takes on the fantasy draft. You know, in the podcast world. Shouts to Chris Gethard and his podcast, who we totally kind of yanked this idea from. He did a mall food court fantasy draft, and in sitting and discussing the idea of doing a fantasy draft, we thought with a friend of the pod, Creepy NJ, Dave, was also part of kind of the ideation of this, but we're gonna do a fantasy toy line draft. And what better way than to, because we could have done it just the two of us, but it's more fun when you have more teams. So we have 2 very special guests joining us. One new to the show, and another returning guest. And I think this marks like a 3rd or 4th episode for you. So you get maybe you get I think we joked and said that we sent coasters the first time. So maybe you're one step closer to the jacket, but. Joining us on the pod to take part in our first ever toy line fantasy draft, we have MCUCollector24, Bryant. Welcome to the pod, and returning guest ToyShiz.
Hello. Hi. I'm excited to be here. I never got those coasters, man.
Shh. We'll talk about that off air.
We got to get those made.
Thanks for having us.
We just got stickers, so
in production delayed.
Yes, yeah, everything they're actually, you know what, ToyShiz, they're on a boat. It's currently not able to dock. That's where they are. They made it.
Using the old Super 7 logistics there, huh?
Logistics. That's just the answer. That's the short form answer. So yeah, guys, we're gonna do this fantasy draft, and we're gonna see how it goes. So before we jump in, let's kind of set the stage here. So the idea is that we have 5 categories of toys to draft, or 5 categories in which we are drafting toy lines for. Now, every one of the toy lines that you're going to hear about today as draft picks had to exist in bulk, if not their entirety, in the 1990s. So that means if the toy line ran for the majority in the 80s and kind of died in 1990, that is not eligible to be drafted. Same goes if a toy line started in 1999 and then ran, mostly into the 2000s. That is also not able to be drafted. So what you're thinking about here is, like, you are building a toy aisle out of these 5 categories, and you're drafting a toy line for each category. And after we're done with this draft, we'll post the teams, if you will. I'm air quoting on teams to social media, and we'll let our collective followers vote on who they think has the best toy aisle. So the categories we'll be drafting in today are superhero, based on a movie, had a cartoon, wrestling, and the wild card category. So that can be any of the above categories, or anything that you can think of that did not fit into one of those categories. We will be drafting snake draft style, which means we already did our randomized order of draft here, and the order will be as follows. So it will be Bryant, you get the first pick. Dave, you get the second pick. ToyShiz, the third, and me, the fourth, which means that I am also the 5th pick. ToyShiz, 6th, Dave, 7th, and Bryant, 8th. And then we continue going until we have filled all 5 categories. This is gonna be fun. I think it might actually get a little heated, knowing our collective likes. I think some people are gonna be spoiled right out of the gate here. So does anyone have, before we get started, does anybody have any questions?
We can when it's our turn to pick, do we choose whichever category it is at that moment? Or are we
Correct.
doing it by category? Okay, cool.
Nope. So you will state the category in which you are picking, and then you will state your pick, and then tell us a little bit about the pick. So why'd you pick it? Do you have any kind of fun memories of it? Is there like a favorite toy from that line? Whatever little factoid or connection you have to that toy line, or just why you picked it, even if it's just to make ToyShiz mad.
And then the wild
perfectly-
card is like none of the above, so it's not.
Yeah. I mean, it can be like, if you're really into 2 superhero lines and you wanted to use the wild card for a second superhero, you absolutely could.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the wild card is anything. It can literally be anything, as long as it has not already been picked. And I guess, yes, that's the final rule that we have to state. Once a toy line has been picked, it cannot be picked for another category. So, if
If
there's
you pick a movie, you can't be a video game or a comic book.
Yep, somebody else can't take that as a comic book or superhero. Sorry, yeah, so somebody else can't take that movie pick as a superhero or wild card or whatever. Once it's picked once by one team, that is it. It is done. And also, just a reminder to our participants: be specific. So make sure you are picking a specific toy line. Toy Biz, Kenner, they made a lot of superhero lines over the years, so just make sure you're picking specifically. You cannot claim all of Marvel. Can't do it.
Unless it's the wild card, right? You just say all of it.
I will have all of it, please. No. Dave, would you like to be the record keeper here of this, or do you want me to do it? Just so that we're keeping track of picks.
I can.
That's the answer. You want me to do it? That's
No, I'm in a different setup than normal.
okay.
So
I'll you know what then I will take I will take care of it here. Yeah. So I think
I might just do it anyway, just to so I have.
Okay.
So I know.
All right. So I think we're all squared away then, right?
I think so.
Yes.
Everybody good?
Yeah, if I screw up, just let me know. That's the best way I go about it.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be happy to let you know if you screw up. All right.
Wrong. Next.
No,
You can't do that.
that doesn't count.
Can you
All
hear
right.
me typing there, Eric?
I cannot hear you typing.
Okay.
All right. So with that, let's get started.
Bryant is on the clock.
Lucky me. Unlucky for ToyShiz. So, first category had a cartoon. Spider-Man, the animated series, Toy Biz, Marvel figures.
Oh, I'm done.
pick
I'm out.
is
Done.
in.
Done. I win. That's it, right? That's how it
Bryant
goes?
wins. It's
I
over.
win.
ToyShiz
So-
has left the chat.
I mean, come on. I think for so many of us, that was the toy line. I know, there was some Marvel superheroes, X-Men, all that, blah, 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 whatever. But the Spider-Man figures specifically for the animated series, I had most of them. I didn't have every single one, but those were absolutely my favorite. It's what got me into Marvel, everything. The symbiote suit Spider-Man figure, the one where it had that little piece that came out of the chest and retracted back. That was my favorite action figure of all time. I love it. I win the game.
Now you should loop in that sound that suit makes. That
Oh yeah,
as it coils back in. That's your victory walk-off song.
Yeah, I wore that thing out so much. I broke that thing off. I was all mad at it, and then I super glued it back just so it could stay on and not have a big old hole in his chest. But I still loved it. It was still my favorite.
Yeah, that there was a specific Spider-Man from that line that was one of the most played with toys when I was a kid. It was he came with some kind of web wing accessory, but he had the cool ball jointed shoulders and bendy elbows, so he moved better than a normal Spider-Man figure could.
Yeah, he
And
was it was kind of after the multi-articulation, but the one with the big web wings with the glider pack, right?
Yep.
That one?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the best. Such a good toy line. Damn you, Brian.
I would disagree. No, I'm just kidding. Totally not out of spite either. No.
Not at all. I can, yeah. But I win.
Well, I was even the to your pick and everything else, the vehicles and the play sets that they put out for those things. I mean, the world that you could create with that toy line was something so different. I mean, it wasn't since Star Wars. Well, Ninja Turtles, He-Man. I take it back. It's a poor argument, but Spider-Man was rad.
Yes, it was. Yes, I think the only playset I had though was the Daily Bugle one.
Yeah.
See, I never had the Daily Bugle. I had the Flip and Trap. What? Right? Flip and Trap set?
Yeah, Flip and Trap playset.
Yeah, that was the one that I had with the magnetic boots that you can stick Spider-Man to the ceiling after you launch him off a... That's a sentence.
Yeah.
That's a sentence that I said today. Yeah. All right,
This was about sports.
Goal.
I win.
All right. Well, already we have controversy in the first pick. So Dave, you're up next with pick number 2.
Dave is on the clock.
Okay. So I've been thinking about this quite a bit. And the thing I'm most worried about is Eric coming around on the second end, because otherwise I think this might still be there. So I'm going to take it now. Because I just don't know. Although I think I'm opening this up for either way. I think it opens it up for ToyShiz and Eric to have a monster first and second round. I'm going to take what everyone thinks I'm going to take, which is Hasbro WWE.
The pick is
Yeah,
locked in.
yeah, that is 100% your first pick.
I'm totally cool with that. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm good with
you
that.
know, it was the toy I played with the most, like, for a long time. Probably, to be completely honest, to the quote unquote when I was too old to play with toys. But it was just, a never ending array of like, oh, here's somebody new. Now I'm adding somebody new to my federation, and there was just always more. Even if there was a repaint of somebody, it wasn't just a repaint. It was more often than not they had a new action feature, and there were so many missed opportunities. There was only one title belt. There were 2 rings the whole time. There weren't any extras like you see now with Mattel, or even like you saw with Jax. But coming off of LJN and not having anything for a while, it was really cool to have something. And the fact that they were really something you could put in a duffel bag and take with you on a road trip. Like, you weren't taking LJNs with you, and you certainly weren't taking them on a plane. But you could probably bring 4, 5, 6 Hasbros with you and still play.
And I mean, those figures are, like, look at it today, right? Like all of the kind of indie, toy designers out there that are getting back into wrestling figures, the Zombie Sailors and the, Rush Collectibles who we just had on.
Cella.
Yeah, they're all that's the bread and butter of what they do, is kind of trying to recapture those Hasbro WWFs. Yeah, we want retros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that pick does not surprise me, Dave.
I don't know why I struggle with wrestling figures as much as I do. Like when Mattel's like, "Hey, we got this new line coming up." When they combined him with WWE, like Eternia, I finally kind of understood wrestling a bit better. I don't know why, but like everything kind of bleeds together for me. I try really hard to be like, okay, is this new? Is this character new? Like, I look at him in the toy all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. This is not for me,
You gotta watch Raw and SmackDown, AEW. I've been getting back into it a little bit more, but I don't have cable service, so I never watch anything at live. So I always just YouTube or Google Bleacher Report, find out stuff. But I'm kind of getting back into wrestling a little bit, trying to watch more. And then this Saturday, actually, there's a live event in Stockton that I'll be going to. So
cool.
That should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah, the live events are always cool. It's kind of like sports, right? A baseball game on TV, not the greatest, right? But when you go see it live, it's awesome. So Same thing, even more so with a wrestling event.
I think actually it was in the 90s where my dad did take me to a wrestling event, but at the time it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Mankind with Sacco and Kane, Undertaker. That's what I remember. Triple H, doing the whole thing. But
and who would have thought you were seeing the most highest paid actor in the world?
Right? Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
It's funny how times change. Dang. I mean, you go to the store and you see all the Black Adam merch, and you're like, that's a people's eyebrow.
Yep. Yep.
See, I know parts of wrestling. See, I can survive.
There you go.
Listen, you can always get by referencing something from the Attitude Era. I mean, that was just
sure.
you can always. You just said them all right there. Stone Cold Steve Austin, the People's Eyebrow, Sacco, DX. You're good. You're fine.
I love wrestling.
That's all the important stuff for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So ToyShiz, you're up next with your first pick.
ToyShiz is on the clock.
Okay, and because MCU, he did superheroes. Can you go back to superhero, or we're just staying?
Oh no, I did cartoon. Had a cartoon.
Yeah. So he had a cartoon. Yeah, you can pick whatever category you want to pick from.
Okay, I'm gonna go superhero, and then I'm gonna say specifically because I'm also doing a video on it. But Batman: Legends of the Dark Knight.
The pick is
that's
locked
the specific one where all the villains, they're all overloaded and muscle. Even the ad back then was more muscles, more, terrify everything. And that Twister Strike Scarecrow was the best thing ever. The commercial for that and then getting it, oh man, that was fun. But it was just like all your favorite villains, but like on steroids. The Batman stuff kind of went either way for me. You know what I mean? Like it was all like, Arctic desert freeze Batman or something like that. But the villains was where it was at. So that's my pick for superhero.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a deep cut for a pick one. Coming in with your retro shiz side hustle on that.
Well, even like a little bit of what it kind of Mcfarland's been doing has really reminded me of that, like full blown, because I don't think a lot of people look at that and go, what is this death metal stuff about? And it's like, I feel like everybody who created that comic was totally into the Kenner Legends of the Dark Knight because they just went wackadoo with it.
Yeah, I remember those. I'm excited for your retrospective on that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I just, it's something that for whatever reason, just specifically, you had Batman the Animated Series. You had different Kenner lines that were always Batman related, but those ones, because the packaging size, like that just really stood out to me as a kid. And I didn't collect them all back then. I had ones, you go to the store and like, oh, this one's really interesting, or oh, this, but yeah, that would be my pick for the superhero for first one.
All right, so that makes me the next pick, and Dave. So this means I actually am picking two in a row. Yes.
You are picking two in a row, but if you want to leave space to talk for each one, that's fine.
Yeah.
Erik is on the clock.
All right, so my first one, I'm almost flabbergasted that this is still on the board, honestly, because I mean it's my favorite toy line of all time. It is the toy line that got me, like, the bulk of my collection is still made up of figures from this and then its preceding toy lines. But I'm going to go from the based on a movie category, and I'm going to take the Kenner relaunch of Star Wars Power of the Force.
The pick is locked in.
I had typed it in already.
Yeah, so I mean 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures. What else do you have to say about them? It's like, it's one of the most iconic toy lines of all time. Relaunched in the 90s where everyone was buff, including the stormtroopers. No, like, so outside of them being, super muscular versions of themselves, it kind of restarted everything. It rebooted Star Wars toys, and a lot of those, kind of later iterations, as we got closer to the 2000s, and then of course onward with the vintage collection and the original trilogy collection before it, and the saga collection, all the Clone Wars stuff, and so on and so forth. But like, some of those early 90s vehicles alone, like the Millennium Falcon, the X-Wing, the TIE fighters, like they're still pieces in people's displays like today.
They hold up very well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing how well some of those figures hold up. Even still, like, full disclosure, like they'll put out like a vintage collection version of a figure that's like maybe not somebody that needs to have all of those points of articulation. A lot of times, those background characters, people that are kind of hanging out in the cantina or in Jabba's palace, those original 5 POA figures still get the job done. I absolutely love them. I still have my original, like very first original Series 1 orange carded figures, obviously loose at this point, but they're still in pretty good shape, including the like extra long lightsabers that came with them before they shortened them up. Easily my favorite toy line of all time, and my favorite, I guess, IP and scale is the 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figure. So that's my first pick.
See, that's what's missing from modern Star Wars is all the buffness. It's just not.
Everybody looks like the poster.
That's exactly it.
I didn't even notice that as a kid. It wasn't until like much later somebody goes, those figures are terrible. Everyone's all roided out, and I was like, my God, he's right. But That's so cool.
Yeah. It's like a joke that I love participating in now, but you're totally right. Like I never thought as a kid, like, why is Luke buff? Like, it was just like, nope, look, he sits in his land speeder. It's great.
Yeah, that was the other thing was, before they really got into, um, what it is now, especially with like the vintage collection, um, just having like the land speeder, the TIE fighter, everything was just bigger and better than what had previously come before when the original movie came out into the 80s. But I mean, still, they kind of used some of those models and took it forward into the 90s collection. But like you said, they still hold up like beautifully. I mean, it's a fantastic line.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, especially since that was really the first figures for near a decade, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah, I think the original Power of the Force,
85 was those.
yeah, ended
'Cause
in
I had
'85.
those.
I think some of them lingered on into '86 a little bit. So yeah, it
Mhm.
was almost exactly a decade. So
Yeah. Now the idea that it just that's where it kind of restarted again, especially with the re-release of the movies and everything. That's what got me into
Mhm.
Star Wars. So
yep, yep. I remember going to see them, together, Dave. We saw them all, together. I actually
Yeah.
one of my only carded figures, because I open everything. Um, I still have my like Jedi, in black Luke Skywalker on the green card. It was the free, like they handed it out when you went to go see Return of the Jedi, and it has like the little like gold sticker on it that says,
that's awesome.
Special
yeah,
edition, yeah.
yeah. So I still have that on card because I already had that figure. So little kid me was just like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna hang it on my wall, and it just stayed there and
Wow.
collected dust. And it's still, the card is not in the best shape, but I mean, the bubble is good. It's clear. It's not yellowed. Uh, it's one of my. And it's not worth a whole lot. Like I know it doesn't have a lot of value. They come up all the time. That's one of
That's the
those
best
ones.
part about that line, though. Like, especially if you go back and get them now, I'm
Yep.
like, how much do you want for this? Like, I don't know, just take it. I don't want this.
Funny story real quick about that. When the trailer for Book of Boba Fett hit, that initial trailer, and the Bahamar monk
Oh
showed up in
yeah,
it, like, I realized that I never had that mail away. I got that thing for like $8 after
yeah,
after the teaser hit. It was great.
Nice.
yeah.
I was never
No,
a Star Wars kid, so I never got any of the toys. But I love the movies, but never got any of the toys.
see, you were winning with Spider-Man, and now you're behind again. So
I'm behind again. But I got the Spider-Man, so I still win.
yeah.
For now. For
For
now.
now. For now.
All right, so my second pick to start the second round here. Man, this is tough.
I have something written in already, so I'm
Oh
gonna
man,
be shocked if you don't do this.
I thought I knew what I was gonna do, but now I'm having second thoughts. All right, no, I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm gonna go superhero category, and I am going to go with let's yeah, all right, Mcfarland Spawn.
The pick is locked in.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Superhero Mcfarland Spawn
Good choice.
is my second pick. Um,
That is not what I had down.
yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Um, You know what? My favorite thing about getting those toys when they came out was I felt like I was getting something that was like edgy and I wasn't supposed to have. Like they were like a little grosser than everything else. They were like a little more adult than everything else. You know, they were like big and chunky. Like I always think of like how they had to scrunch up Violator to fit in the box. Um, they were so good. And Spawn, recently got his Kickstarter, homage from the current McFarlane line. But like that original Spawn had one of the greatest accessories ever, which was just a plank with a nail in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just such a good.
All you need when you go to New York alleyways. Just
Yeah.
blank with a nail sticking out of it.
But yeah, I have such fond memories of those clamshells. They came with the comic. It was overall like it was felt like a special. It was more than just an action figure. And I still think that way too about a bunch of figures from those first original waves. Like, I mean, the clown that I have on my display now, and granted this dips more into the 2000s, I believe. I don't think that clown 4 was from the 90s, but again, some of those really early figures, like I still see people post pictures of like the modern brand new Spawn figures with that original Series 1 Violator, and it looks great. Those figures were awesome. Very, very special figures.
Overkill, like
Yep.
just one of the largest action figures
With
ever.
the head you can launch, and
The head
fists
you can launch. Like so much heft.
No, I agree to your point. Like it was kind of going from Toy Biz to Spider-Man, X-Men, all that kind of stuff. McFarland was like, you were doing something like bad and you didn't want your parents to know about it. You know what I mean? Like you're like, yeah, I'm cool now because I got like this guy's ripping this guy's head off, like in the comic, in the comics, and then you see the figure and you're like, man, this is so edgy. I'm so cool right now. Where you weren't cool at all, but it was still just an awesome toy line.
You were
you
in
had
fact
the
going the
HBO
opposite
show.
direction.
Yeah, like you're going up to your friends and you're like, I got this Spawn figure. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, I get you. I get it. Don't nod at school. I get it.
So there's this
And then you had
clown
the
that eats
HBO
people's
show
hearts.
too, which the HBO show felt like it was like a little extra too because it was on at midnight. Like
the lengths I had to go to because I didn't have HBO. One, I tried to go to Best Buy. Best Buy would sell the VHS, and I go into no, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. Blockbuster Video, and I go up there and I'm like, I go, Mom, I'm gonna run in real fast. Oh, okay, yeah, no worries. I'll wait in the car for you. And I'm trying to buy this. The guy's like, I can't sell this to you, man. You have to be 17 or older. I'm like, come on. And he's like, you got to get your mom. So I bring my mom in, and she's like, what are you buying? And I'm like, it's cartoon. It's not a big deal, right? And she's like, oh yeah. And the guy just is like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that cartoon is still like very intense. Like it's as intense as I remember it. I recently did like a rewatch of it, and there were a couple times where like I was trying to work while watching it at the same time and got totally derailed by like something way more intense than I remember being there. It's still on HBO. Like if you have HBO Max, right? Yeah, HBO Max.
Yeah. Oh, it's there.
Yeah, you can watch it. It's awesome.
I may have to watch it. I've never seen it.
Oh,
You
it's
got
so good.
It's cool.
doing the intro.
Yeah,
yeah. I didn't have HBO as a kid either, so there was no chance of me watching it.
Yeah, you get really like 90s spooky Todd McFarlane intros to each episode, and then you get the wonderful oh man, my card's gonna be revoked. The voice of Spawn. How'd you get the beans above the Frank? Why can't I think of the actor's name?
David.
Keith David. Yes, thank you. Yeah, he's Spawn, and he recently came back and did it for the Mortal Kombat games too. He recorded the lines for it, but he's awesome in that show. So good.
Yeah, he's the Kevin Conroy to the Batman. It just whenever you see Spawn, that's the voice now. It'd be hard to replace him in any capacity because it's just like he nailed it. The voice is perfect. So yeah, that's a great show. When it even got into the third season, kind of, well, I don't want to spoil it, but it definitely needs a fourth season. Hopefully Netflix would pick that up eventually. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Or, I mean, Warner Brothers is dipping their toes into the water with letting the DC Batman Spawn crossover happen again. So fingers crossed,
That I'm excited for. I think that's like the epitome of the 90s right there. Like everything Batman, everything Spawn.
Yep.
And Capullo's doing it, which is great. So
yeah.
Let's hope they do a box set. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and Batman's elbow joints are painted the right color.
Batman's head is on Spawn's and vice versa.
All right, so ToyShiz, back to you for your first pick of the second round.
ToyShiz is on the clock.
Okay, I'm gonna go based on a cartoon, and I'm gonna pick Mighty Max.
The pick is locked in.
And the reason I'm picking that is because I don't have a lot of my Mighty Max left, but in recent times, with everything that Super Impulse has been doing, even with the old 90s, the action fleets and all the world's smallest action figures that they're doing, it's like, what do you usually call those things? Everyone goes, oh, they're like Mighty Max or Polly Pocket, but we're talking about Mighty Max. And
yeah, Mighty Max, not Polly Pocket.
Yeah, those were like one of the best toys I remember that it was easy to take with you. If you're going on a trip or something, it did enough to like entertain you. You know what I mean? If you didn't have your Game Boy or something like that, but it was terrible when you'd lose pieces to it. I did that frequently. Like what was it with the ice alien one where the tongue was sticking out? The tongue would always disappear. You'd find it in the car, weeks later, something like that. But the idea that it was like you made these play sets that were incredibly detailed. They close into like a skull or a hand or something like that. And then it was based on the cartoon, which was actually pretty decent, which put a whole new spin on this. And then they made that giant kind of like Snake Mountain, like that red craggy, like guts, like you're climbing the aggro crag, that kind of thing. But it's one of those lines that, every once in a while I'll see it eBay or Mercari or something like that. I'm like, man, I would love to get those again and talk about them, but haven't done it yet. But just some of the memories that I have specifically for a lot of those sets, that would put me at based on a cartoon as, something interesting to talk about as well.
I am shocked that nobody has relaunched that line yet, especially with the popularity of Polly Pocket. Like Polly Pocket has never been more popular than it is currently.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I was actually talking to somebody from Mattel at the Toy Insider Holiday of Play event that they just had last week, and they had new Polly Pocket stuff out on display. And I said, I can't believe, that this is still like, it's still so cool to see, micro sets like this. I wish, Mighty Max still existed. And the representative from Mattel there was like, yeah, Polly Pocket's never been more popular or profitable. So,
well, you think that even with Jax's relaunch, I'm sorry, Jazzwares' relaunch of, Micro Galaxy Squadron, like Mighty Max, that would be such a fun, like even right now, like holiday toy, like we're bringing it back for Halloween, like fall, just something cool and creepy. That would be really cool to bring back.
If Mattel still has the license for that, that would be a perfect thing to do, like a Mattel Creations for.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Put a special set out there. Yeah.
And have it only be 300 and no.
Oh boy, here we go.
No, God, no.
All right, Dave, we are back to you for your first pick of the second round.
Dave is on the clock.
I don't know how this is still here, but it is, and it's one of my favorite toys ever. This probably is my second favorite like toy line from when I was a kid. I had so much of it. It became a huge hand-me-down for you, Eric. You wound up with most of them after I had them, or we both had them. Like this was in the house pretty much for the entirety of its run. And I'm going cartoon. Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The pick is locked in.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the best stuff came out in the 90s.
Yeah, I remember having a lot of those when I was young.
Yeah, this is one of those lists where it was just like, okay, this is
take it.
There's just so much stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, this is going early. Like, I think I was like, I made a mistake taking WWE first.
No, not at all.
No.
You know, you have in 2 rounds, you arguably have 2 of the most iconic toy lines literally ever produced. So I think you're doing okay. Does anyone want to say anything else about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I think that's
Can
one
you
that
be
kind of
more
speaks for itself.
specific?
Yeah.
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 No, I mean, the sculpting alone on those things, just ingrain everything that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from a very young age. Everything, and you go Ninja Turtles, no matter what is out right now, you always go Playmates. You know what I mean? Like that to me. Comics, everything else aside, you always go, oh yeah, I remember those Ninja Turtle toys.
Yep. Shouts to Varner Studios, who did a ton of those sculpts.
Yeah. And they
Amazing work.
still, I mean, they still hold up to this day. I mean, they're
To the point that they're remaking them.
Yeah.
Multiple times over too, right?
Yeah. I mean, Super 7, they do a great job at remaking them. And I like what they add to them. You know, that's always fun to see. But the original, you can't beat the originals. I mean,
yeah, those Playmates boxes that wind up at like Walmart.
Yeah.
Yep, those molds will never die.
No.
I don't know about Ninja Turtles versus like Stranger Things and Star Trek and all that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's all weird.
Hey,
even
I
like
love
the weapons tree. Like the weapons tree was one of the most fun things because it's just like, all right, I gotta work for these.
Yeah, you gotta pop them out, snap them out.
And how many nunchucks I broke? Like,
oh my god, yeah, right. Oh, that's what the re-releases recently helped me with. Weapons.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Filling a gap on those brown colored weapons.
Yeah.
Especially those ninja stars. Those things, you lose them like super easy. How many? Yeah,
so easy.
I was gonna say how many shurikens that have been vacuumed over the years.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you.
Pop into a new career with CGC, the world leader in pop culture collectibles grading. CGC is seeking world-class Funko Pop experts to lead a new division dedicated to authenticating and grading collectible toys. This is an incredible opportunity to help build a new grading service in a hot collectibles category. Think you can play the part? Apply today at cgcgrading.com/careers. That's cgcgrading.com/careers.
And now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. The world we live in is full of challenges, and that can make it difficult to focus on what really matters. We've all been raised to appreciate the importance of taking care of our bodies, but what about our minds? Talking to a therapist can help identify stressors, learn to healthily manage them, and lead to a more confident and productive mind. BetterHelp is an affordable, accessible, and flexible online solution to your mental health care needs. After taking a brief survey, BetterHelp will match you with a therapist, and you could switch at any time. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/AIC today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/AIC.
And now, back to the show.
All right. That takes us to Bryant to finish out round 2.
Bryant is on the clock.
Okay, I think I'm going to go superhero, and hopefully this counts as superhero. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
The pick
Yeah,
is
I'd say
locked
so.
in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, superhero. They're teen of superheroes, teenage ones at that. Power Rangers. I mean, growing up in the '90s, I think most of us probably really liked Power Rangers. It's funny because I liked it back then, 30 years ago. I do not care for it now, but it still holds a real special place as being one of the shows that I love to watch, before school, after school, whenever it was on. I can't even remember at this point, but I had so many of the figures. And one of my earliest memories is going into a Toys R Us, and they had the Green Ranger and the Dragon Zord box set. And I was like, oh my God, I have to have this. He's the coolest Ranger ever with the coolest Zord ever. And I did get it that day, and I was so excited. And it was just the coolest thing and one of my earliest memories, and I love it.
Yeah, with Power Rangers, it was one of those things. I don't know why when I was into it, it was only Mighty Morphin era, and I think it was like right after the White Ranger and the movie thing, kind of all that happened. I kind of bowed out. It was just like I could never get the toys outside of like the flip heads. I had like one of the larger Rangers, but back then it was so hard to find those toys, and like people went nuts for those things. And it's still you watch it today. I watched it with the little one, and it's kind of fun to like ask questions. It's like, hey, where does the sword go? Like, what do you mean? Like, where does it go when they're not using it? Is it just like flying around in the sky? Does the volcano always erupt, or how does that work? Is it doing damage to the planet like the more times they use that pterodactyl Zord? But the Power Rangers is so iconic and classic that even you what Hasbro's doing today, even though some of it's kind of like, well, thanks, you tried. It's still fun to collect them. I love the monsters. That when they ever do the new monsters, I'm like, all right, I'm in. Let's do this.
Yeah,
I just love that the Zord's impact on like global warming is what's being considered.
Yeah, they crack open the ground every day. It's okay, folks.
There's comic book logic, and then there's Power Rangers logic. They're both.
How does Rita get her staff back every time she throws it on Earth? Does it dissipate and return to the moon? These are very real questions that no.
What the crazy thing is these are things that I never even thought about until
you just accept right now. Totally.
Way to ruin Power Rangers.
How does the Pink Ranger get inside the Zord even though they haven't combined yet? Just saying,
And how do they all get together once they do combine?
They have special elevators and stuff that get them around.
It's like the Wanda elevator. It can go any which way necessary.
Yeah.
They go through a room. There's a chandelier, a piano. It's just they got to run up a few flights of stairs. I get it.
Scooby-Doo doors.
That was a good pick. That's a good laugh right there.
All right, Bryant. So snake draft rules. So you are the first pick of the third round.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to go based on a movie because I didn't have a whole lot of options on what I remember and what to choose from. But you use this like as the example. So the Batman, I think it was the Batman Forever Kenner line. The movie figures. I had a lot of Batman figures at one point. And it all came from the movie, the movie figures. And there were some weird Batman ones. Like it was just so strange. But there were a lot of those figures that I really loved. I think I had a couple of the vehicles. I wasn't huge into it, but there was a lot of times where I wanted all these different variations of Batman. Both, what was in the movie and then whatever random stuff they came out with. But I do remember really loving that line. And because I don't think I had a whole lot of stuff from movies. It was all like cartoon or TV based stuff.
Yeah, I remember Batman Forever's product placement and tie-ins from McDonald's superhero sandwiches to those the glass
the glass
Riddler, Two-Face, everything you get from McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, those cups are great.
They're still sought after. Like they're Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
that's
still
wild,
one
isn't
that's
it?
highly
Yeah.
collectible. But yeah,
No,
that was what a great line.
Yeah. No, that was actually like really well done. Like I still love that movie. As much as people go like, yeah, I'm like, no, that was a fun movie.
Great soundtrack
Well,
too.
and that's the thing, right? I think it was always supposed to be fun,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, nowadays people would tear that apart. What are they?
Oh God!
thinking?
Oh man,
Mhm.
it would be so bad.
It's not grounded enough. Well,
Yeah.
you know, Batman 66 isn't grounded in anything if you think about it. Like, it's just
Oh, yeah.
silly.
And like what you said about the soundtrack, like I mean, everybody had that soundtrack. Seals
Mhm.
Kissed by a Rose. Come on.
You too.
Oh yeah.
Oh
But
man,
it-
that was
Yeah, and I always liked too when they had the Batman that was like similar. Like they would make one per movie that was like similar to comic book Batman, but not quite.
yeah.
Amongst the other like oddly colored Batman figures.
And that Riddler,
Mhm.
he had like, didn't he have like what did he have? Like a bunch of monitors strapped to him? I forget, but he wasn't exactly on model, but a lot of those figures definitely weren't.
Yeah, there were some weird ones for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like they also had the like same issue they have now. They had like an early reference photo that changed.
Yeah, see, it's always been a problem in the toy industry. That's nothing with the MCU now. This is all it's been happening forever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I am up here.
Dave is on the clock.
Now for my third round, I am going movie as well. And the 90s movie toy lines were filled with like it's kind of like the idea of Spawn where it was like how is this a toy line aimed at children?
You took my pick. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, there's two that could have gone that way. So I'm either taking yours or it's the other one.
No, take it.
I'm gonna go with every single one of these was just incredible, and I loved the action features for them, and it's still one of my favorite Alien Queen figures, and that's Kenner Aliens.
The pick
Yeah.
is locked in.
I mean, you even had just like it was still the characters in like from the movie in just like oddly bright colored, gear and outfits with like enormous weapons, and all the aliens had like 8-bit Nintendo colors, and there was blue and red and orange, and just great. Kind of like I remember the bull alien, where it's like I think he squeezed his legs together and his head he like head butted. There was an alien that did like a press slam, and then the queen where he squeezed the back of her head and the extra mouth came out, and had the tail whip too with the button. Like it was so good. It was such a good line. I believe he had a power loader too. Like. And it was supposed to be a cartoon that never was produced, so I could only imagine what that would have been like. But what a line!
See, I think I like aliens these days. Like to see a really cool like cartoon based on that'd be solid. I mean, more movies is always welcome, but I think you get a lot more leeway. If you made it dark and like Spawn, the animated series, just made it that terrifying, but in animation, I think that would work well. But yeah, that alien line was something like the design element that went into each one to make them like, okay, here's the snake alien, and then how do we make this work and actually have a push button action? That's just cool to me. So
I think the
and
gorilla
I'm
one was
very
my
mu-
favorite.
oh, with the squeezy
The blue
water
and black
shooting
one,
head,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm it's one of my favorite franchises too. Like I loved that there was going to be a new one. Alien Covenant was such a bummer for me. Like I was so looking forward to it. They sold the trailers, they sold it so well, and it fell short. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to this TV series that they have coming out. I
Yeah,
think it's going to be on
so-
FX.
Yeah, I think so. That Predator was pretty dang good, though. That
It was
Prey
very
movie.
good.
Ooh,
Oh.
I
Yeah.
still haven't seen that.
Oh, you got to see that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, it's easily the best Predator movie since the original, like hands down.
It's almost like one of those movies that you feel like you've seen over and over again, but you enjoy it every time. I think I've seen it 4 times already, and it's just you can pick it up anywhere, have it on in the background, and it's just a good movie.
Nice. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's almost like they went back to like, all right, what made the first one work? Like simple. That was it. Like,
Yeah.
yes, Predator 2 is crazy and is good because it's crazy, but like it's a simple, here's what this is. It's kind of like it is what it is, but it works.
All right, so that brings us to ToyShiz. So you're up next with your third pick.
ToyShiz is on the clock.
All right. I'm going to go outside the box on this one, but because I have a good story to it, or what I think is a good story. But based on a movie, I'm going to go with the Talk Boy.
The pick is locked in.
Interesting.
All right.
Oh, see, remember earlier in the chat when I asked, well, what about, does it have to be action figure? Talk Boy was the one that I was thinking about. And you took
really?
it. Yeah.
Well, I can stop. Oh, you can have it. I'll let you have it.
No. You
it's your pick.
take the victory there.
All right,
That's
all
a
right.
good one. That's a good one for
well-
sure.
Okay, so you remember the movie Home Alone 2? And celebrities stay at the fabulous Ding Dang Dong, all that kind of stuff. And that's where I found out about the Plaza Hotel, which I got to go to one year and stay there. It was like, you just have this idea as a kid of what New York is, especially watching that movie. That's what I thought New York was. And then when you get there, you're like, it kind of is. But the Talk Boy, which was really funny to me because I saw that in the movie and then it was advertised just like Kevin McAllister in the movie. It's gonna be great. And I got it for Christmas one year, and I remember my dad. He puts the batteries in. And he goes, "All right, here, try it out." And you push, hey, say whatever into it, like yes, and it's yes. Well, you do it, and it was like, and it was like the worst playback anything. Like it did not work. And no matter, even had you could speed it up, you could slow it down. That work, you never could understand really what that thing was playing. So it was a great tie-in, but when you had it and played with it as a kid, it was a 2-second wonder. So that's my pick for the based on a movie.
In all fairness,
I'll never forget that commercial. Like where the kid is just like, you got the brother and his girlfriend. It's like, hi kids, we're home early.
Oh
And
yeah,
still
it didn't work. They're such
reference
liars.
to this day.
And in all fairness,
Tiger Electronics.
I was gonna say it's Tiger Electronics. We should have all known what we were getting into when we got it based on their track record.
Oh, you want to go to the VR zone too? Put that thing in front of your eye and play a game?
Pass.
Kinda.
Go blind. Multiple kids blinded.
Talk Boy. Believe it or not, I still have my Talk Boy. I know where it is, and it still works. It works.
Wow.
Finger
Works?
air quotes.
Yeah.
Works.
That's
Air
cool.
quotes, yeah.
Because nobody played with it.
You know what I need, what I use it for? When just this year, when those Stranger Things Bandai figures came out and they came with the cassette soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
I don't have anything with a cassette player, and I was like, I think I still have a Talk Boy. So I plugged speakers into the aux port on the Talk Boy and popped the tape in to listen to the tape for 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, this is what tape sounds
Nice.
like. I remember this. And that was it with that novelty.
Of all things, cassettes are like making a comeback.
Oof.
That's wild. Why on earth would those come back?
We don't need that. There's
No, we
there's
do
at
not.
least vinyl has a certain audio fidelity to it. We don't need tapes.
Right.
We don't need to go back to
No.
that.
No.
All right. So that takes me to my pick. Yes.
Erik is on the clock.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going wrestling. And I'm gonna do the Jax WWF bone crunching action.
The pick
Figures.
is locked in.
I'm going BCA. BCA all day. Sorry,
those
Bryant.
are some good ones.
Yeah.
Man, those were good.
Yeah, the for a while those were just like until their their kind of retirement for the next round of Jax figures going into the Titantron Live guys. Those bone crunching action figures were it. It was the first time that like the roster went deep on a line. Like they had so many guys and they were cranking them out so quickly. It was almost to the point where like you'd see a guy on TV and the action figure would be at KB. They were initially a pain in the butt to find, but eventually, they were in bargain bins. They were various repaints, guys that had signatures on them. Eventually they went into stuff like the Stomp collection, and it was just so much fun. So many different wrestlers to choose from. Some of them, even to this day, still have like crazy good likenesses for the time. Like they actually looked like the guys that they were, unless you had cases where like they were repainting. Who didn't they repaint Jeff Jarrett as an Owen Hart or the other way around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I don't remember. But I remember them not having good likenesses at all.
Originally. Yeah, originally they did not. But like there were ones like I don't know.
I think that first series isn't bad. Like the Diesel's okay, the Razor's okay, Undertaker.
For some reason, the one that always pops into my head is having like an insane likeness for the time was Darren Drozdoff. That Droz figure is like ridiculous.
Maybe it's because easy to do facial hair and funky hair back then.
Yeah, but like they had so many different guys to choose from, and I don't know about you, but I never once used the like bone crunching action as like a gimmick. Like
no, never.
I just played with them. Like didn't care that their elbows would crunch and knees would crunch.
They had managers, they had commentators. It was the first time you had like accessories, even if it was like a sink
or a door.
Oh, yeah, they had really weird accessories, but it was
like
awesome.
A CD rack.
Yeah. They had those great like part cardboard, part plastic, like backstage accessories or backstage play sets and stuff. Yeah, it was absolutely boatload of fun line. And another one that's making a comeback, Cella is doing bone crushing superstars. So they have a couple of those announced. Okay. So I get another one. Let's see. So I've done movie, superhero, wrestling. I guess it leaves me with cartoon. So okay. ToyShiz took my number one pick for this. It was going to be Mighty Max. So I'm gonna have
that's what you get.
I'm gonna have to go with my number two, which is one of the most inappropriate franchises turned into a cartoon for children, I think ever. Troma Studios, Toxic Crusaders by Playmates.
The pick is locked
That was
in.
high up on my list too.
For had a cartoon. God, who doesn't love a good gross out toy, right? Figures that come with like toxic snot and slime and goo and yeah. It's just the line's disgusting and I love it. And it's just one of those ones where again, like we're seeing it make a comeback. Super 7 has their ultimates, in the style of, I think, that figure that was never made, that like big monster, what is it? Ishmael Studios, right?
Oh yeah, oh man, what's it called?
I don't know why I can't think of his name all of a sudden.
Oximo or whatever.
Yes.
Close enough.
Close enough. Big, gross, toxic thing. But yeah, so that's my pick. I love a good gross out toy. The cartoon was funny at the time. I haven't seen it in, probably 20 years. But love the fact that we're making Tromaville for kids.
Paluto, that's his name.
Paluto. There you go.
Doesn't drive me nuts. Yeah, that was an interesting line, especially since turtles were, everyone kind of compared those. I remember being a kid and everyone would say, "Oh yeah, that's a Ninja Turtle figure." I'm like, nah, that wolf is the other thing, like uh, Toxie or whatever it was. And I never saw the movie as a kid, but I definitely saw the cartoon a lot. But never, I had like one or two figures, but ones that I just kind of came by, maybe at a garage sale or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see the movie until
I was in high school.
Yeah, and I didn't see it until I was in college. It was a long, and I could not believe, looking back on it, that someone let them make that into a cartoon for
It's
children.
mind-boggling to me to this day.
Like, what would make a great toy line? Oh yeah, well, I saw this movie recently.
Now, how can we make it appropriate for kids? Let's make it about the environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness! All right, so that takes us back to ToyShiz. Your next pick.
ToyShiz is on the clock.
All right, I'm gonna go with wrestling on this one because I don't know much. But let's do the Tonka Wrestling Buddies.
Oh, great pick!
The pick
because I did have the
in.
Hulk Hogan. That's the only one I had.
Are those the pillow ones?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That's all. I remember you jump off the stairs and land on that thing, and you get up. You're like, I'm fine, and you really broke your neck doing it. But no, I what I liked as a kid was it was the facial expressions and stuff. Like the black lines that emphasize the muscle. And it was kind of shaded. It was cool. God knows what happened to mine from when I was a kid, but no, I just remember they were fun to smack, a sibling with, or your parents, or have them hit you. It's mindless fun, but that was a way for me to have a category this round.
And then you get to go to bed and snuggle with the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hugging each other in the ring. It's okay.
It's totally okay.
Yeah.
The worst was if you spilled anything on it, and then you have to throw Hulk Hogan in the washing machine. So, and the colors didn't last a lot. So,
yeah, the secret was putting it in a pillowcase first.
All right, so that takes us to you, Dave. You're up next. Your next pick.
Dave is on the clock.
All right. So for me, I haven't done superhero yet. And this is one of those ones where I was hoping a couple more of these would be gone. But they're not, so here we are. I'm not gonna go with the one you would think I was gonna go with. Just because I think there was one or two that were better. So I'm gonna go with Toy Biz X-Men.
The pick is locked in.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that for my superhero. And I mean, just from the packaging, super iconic packaging, looked like an issue of the comic book. Everything had those the cool motion. I remember the Wolverine, he had the little kind of dial on his back and it would twist back and forth. It's just a great line, so many great figures, super iconic. Can't go wrong with the X-Men figures. And it went deep into X-Men lore too, which I enjoyed. It didn't just live in the comic book. Or I'm sorry, in the cartoon. It lived a lot in the comic book as well. So, yes, it was, kind of around that time of the cartoon, and you could argue it was the cartoon, figure series, but it went beyond that, which I enjoyed, as I was in kind of the peak of my first era of really reading comic books.
Well, like you said, much like Spider-Man animated, they did so many characters, even characters that have never seen another figure to this day, but were just heavily prevalent in 80s and 90s X-Men comics during that time, which was a product of their time, but some of the most memorable characters. And
And they delved into like X Factor and X Force as well. Like,
yeah, it's funny because a lot of that X-Men, Spider-Man, DC comic, like Batman, all that kind of stuff really resonates with me in that time period, Star Wars included, Power of the Force. Whereas nowadays, I enjoy some of the things, but I always go back to 80s and 90s ideals of toys and cartoons and movies and all that kind of stuff. So,
And I think too, like, especially that X-Men line, I know for me, that was my introduction to a lot of characters. Like, I remember seeing characters that I didn't know, but thinking like, oh, that's a really cool looking toy, and ended up, reading more about like that. That's what made me go to like
yeah.
look up more about that character because it looked cool.
Yeah, reading a comic, especially as a kid, and not really you'd read it, but you didn't have all that backstory knowledge. That was kind of like the jumping off point. But the cartoon kind of it simplified it. But X-Men was also very complicated at the same time. Where I would say that even if you jumped in and you'd missed a couple episodes, sometimes it's kind of hard to catch up. You're like, what happened in 3 episodes? Like an entire season worth of storyline. So.
Right. I always felt like I always saw like the first episode play all the time though.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, watching
They always did
Jubilee
that. It
get
was like-
chased from a mall.
Well, I remember Morph always getting blasted and they leave him behind. Like, wait, didn't I see this a million times already?
Pizza Hut helped out with that too by putting it on a VHS.
and I just remember, even just 2 of my favorites were the Cable and the Bishop, like, just because they were characters that I was like, oh, I love these characters in the comic book, and now, here's a really cool figure of them as well.
Yeah.
All right, so Bryant, you get your final 2 picks here in a row. So you're gonna do your wrestling first. You're gonna do your wild card first.
Bryant is on the clock.
I'm gonna go with the wrestling. The bone crunching action figures were awesome. That's what got me into wrestling figures, at that time. But when Titantron Live hit, game changer. Complete game changer. The articulation was updated, more realistic body types. The first few series, I think the head sculpts were still terrible because I think a lot of them were pretty similar to the bone crunching action. But then they took it further and they had the real scan when that came in. It was crazy. And they had some awesome figures, lots of great characters. I always remember it was so hard to find the new character figures that were coming out, the new wrestlers, or the first time, they would have them figures. But some iconic ones. I remember when Too Hot came out and they had the white and black pants, like those ones. The Dudley Boys, I remember at KB picking those up. So the Titantron Live was crazy and really changed the game, I think, for action figures.
Plus that Titantron itself with like the metal plates on it.
Well, that didn't last a whole long, and there was always problems with that. Like you put the metal contacts on there, and it like plays the wrong song or doesn't play anything at all. Yeah, that was kind of bad.
That first set that like was meant to go with it, there was no longevity with that because you only had, like to your point, you only had like 6. I think it was like 6 or 7 guys that actually like worked on it. But like the magic of that, like seeing that the first time, like when you put the Undertaker on there and his music hits, and you're just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. Even though it sounded like it was coming out of like a tin can.
That and the figures couldn't stand because of the contacts.
Yeah, I think they actually used a Talkboy speaker in it. I think
all the leftovers that they didn't sell. Let's put it in that WWE thing. That'd be fine.
All right, so you get we all saved our wild card for last. This was not a roll. Like anyone could have used their wild card earlier. We all saved it for our final pick.
Yeah, the wild card's fun. So I for the most part, any action figure line and stuff that I really collected, I got to pick. So the wild card's gonna be like, what do I actually do? And man, I'm like going through all my stuff and like what is actually a really good one. But I'm gonna go with Super Soaker
Nice.
because
All
The
right.
pick is locked
yeah,
in.
yeah. The like you have the standard one was like a yellow gun with a green tank or whatever it was, held like one water bottle worth, like a 2 liter or something. But I remember that they had ones with backpacks and you could fill up with water and they were heavy as hell. You couldn't really run around to try and squirt anybody. But I remember there was some really cool and interesting looking guns. Like a pull lever one and just constant stream firing off at somebody. But I had a blast with a lot of Super Soakers, with my brother and my cousins sometimes. That was a lot of fun.
Now, see, that's interesting because, and Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but like we had Super Soakers, but they weren't that big over here because like it's cold a lot of the time. Like we only have
That makes sense. Yeah.
3
Yeah.
warm months. So like
Beautiful California.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a California toy.
I just remember them because they sponsored like WWE at some point, but like, yeah, they were big summer toys. But yeah, like I just if you had a Super Soaker, you were cool type of thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was just like dollar store water guns.
They also didn't
the
sell
wi-
them year round. Like you could only
No.
find them like when stores would set for summer product.
Well, that winter collection really failed for Super Soaker right here. So. Throw blocks of ice.
Yeah, ice hurts. Ice hurts. That's all right. Kids are freezing Orbeez now and putting them in those new Nerf guns and shooting frozen Orbeez at each other. So
Oh my God! Really?
yeah.
Ouch.
Yep.
So it's
I mean,
effectively
children
paintballs
today,
with no
yeah.
paint.
Pretty much. They're boiling chicken and NyQuil on TikTok and shooting each other with frozen Orbeez from Nerf guns.
We're
Oh,
doomed.
wow. Yeah, this is not good. This is not good.
I just got
At
done
least
eating
it's
my
not Tide Pods.
Come on.
All right. So you are locked up. Your picks are all your team is locked in, Bryant. You're the first one to complete it. So Dave, what is your wild card pick?
Dave is on the clock.
All right, so I'm going with something else it doesn't fit into the categories, so it is a true wild card. And this is something that at the time I went absolutely I could not find. I went bonkers looking for. And I ultimately got like the second printing of it. But it's one of my all-time favorite bands in figures that make absolutely no sense. I'm of course talking about the 1997 reunion era Kiss figures
The pick is locked
by
in.
Mcfarland.
I don't know why I didn't think of that, and I'm kind of mad I didn't.
I have the ones. I don't have the ones with the letters. I have the ones with the records, but it's still like I still have them mint on card. I have them in the Psycho Circus ones, but those first ones where it's like, everybody has like almost like a weapon in a way. Like there's rockets. They're just kind of ridiculous, and I love them.
They're also fragile as anything. Those figures.
Yeah, they are. They break really easily, and it's I thought it, especially with that was something where I was like, oh, I'm gonna get to see like Kiss in makeup perform live, and all of a sudden here was all the merch for it too. So I was completely on board, but those figures I thought were the coolest. And as a 16-year-old kid at the time, like it wasn't like where it was like one of the first times where I was like, all right, this to me is a collect. It's not a thing I'm going to play with. This is a collectible thing.
Yeah.
All All right.
No, that's how I feel about McFarlane. That's when it started to be like, oh, I'm gonna be cool and leave it in the packaging. You know what I mean? And display it. And yeah, it totally changed the whole like collecting avenue for me, from as a kid to then getting older.
If you had
Yep.
those original ones, you had to open them though, because you had to spell out "kiss" and have them stand on top of the letters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were the stands too.
Yeah, yeah. They had pegs on the top of the letters, so that way you could spell out "kiss" in like the giant letters and have them stand on their corresponding letter.
And then I think the third printing was back to letters, but in a different color. It was red outline, and then white outline, I think.
I think so. I think you're right.
And then the second series was just here's the solo albums, just little records. Have fun.
All right. So, ToyShiz, this is it's your turn.
ToyShiz is on the clock.
All right. Now, a quick question. You said let's say it's a toy line from 1999, but then it went to 2000. Does that count?
How far did it run in the 2000s, or was it just like a 2 year?
It ended there. It was 1 year 1999, 1 year 2000.
That's
Yeah, that
fair game.
works.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I was gonna go Venom Planet of the Symbiotes, but I like where you're going with the Kiss toy line, so I'm gonna go Austin Powers for McFarlane Toys.
The pick is locked
Nice.
in.
And that was one of those lines where that was kind of like my first foray into why can't this be a figure that exists on the shelf? What's wrong with it? And it was because of Fat Bastard, right? And they could some got out with the name, but then it was Fat B on all the other ones. But then you had Felicity Shagwell and you had Dr. Evil and the cat. And that movie alone, the second movie, first one was awesome. Second movie was even more hilarious. We don't need to talk about the third one. But the line itself was like totally different. I was like, so it's a movie, like, you had Batman Returns, you had all this Kenner stuff, Toy Biz over the years, but that was like movie where the sculpts were pretty spot on. I mean, they got at least the characters looking like what they're supposed to look like. So I always remember that toy line specifically for that, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun to reminisce. I remember going to Toys R Us all the time, and they had the Austin Powers section across from TNBA Kenner Batman. You know what I mean? So you just kind of turn around, look at it. So yeah, that was a great line.
It was, and again, like those early McFarlane like movie sculpts, like even like going into like the movie Maniac stuff, like you still see those pop up today, and like toy photography and everything, they look great. They still look awesome.
Yeah, the cat.
Yep.
Oh my god, Mr. Bigglesworth.
Erik is on the clock.
All right, so my the final pick of the event here, my final wild card. This was one that I thought for sure somebody was going to take in the movies category, and I'm glad they didn't, because I get to take it. The Jurassic Park movie line from Kenner.
The pick is locked in.
So many amazing dinosaurs. Again, like those smaller scale figures that look absolutely nothing like the actors, except for Jeff Goldblum. His looked like him, but like the Dennis Nedry, that looked absolutely nothing like him. But
I always called him Dennis Nerdy. I thought that's what his name was, and I was like, that's dumb.
It's a little on the nose. Yeah, no, but I absolutely love that toy line. I love especially that big like red and like it was like a maroon colored T-Rex that like roared when you squeezed its rib cage. Just absolutely awesome toy line. And I'm glad to see that scale is making a comeback with the Hammond collection.
I still say that, like, look for the mark of Jurassic Park. I mean, anytime they talk about new Mattel toys, it's just such an iconic line for that toy line.
Really was. It really, really was. And like, it's another one too where like, the toy line was much more light and like bright colored and kind of like definitely kid friendly from a movie that like would scare the pants off you. I mean, it's a borderline horror movie, that first one.
Yeah.
So, it was interesting to see how it got translated.
The
You know,
Sam Neill figure was jacked.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like that was.
it's the 90s and it was Kenner. It was pre Hasbro 90s Kenner. So yeah, everybody was a superhero. Everybody was on a Batman body, pretty
Mhm.
much. All right, so that wraps up our draft, guys.
That was fun.
Congratulations to each of you on your picks. You know, may the best toy aisle win. You know, if in the subsequent voting that's coming. Before we sign off for the evening, thanks again to ToyShiz and Bryant for joining us and being our inaugural guests in the draft. Just remind our listeners, where can they find you on the internet?
So for me, Bryant, MCUCollector24 across all social media channels. Mainly a Marvel Legends guy, but also Power Rangers Lightning Collection and G.I. Joe Classified Series.
And you can find me at ToyShiz, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that jazz. And you know, it's pretty much everything and anything that's fun and exciting, pop culture wise or toy wise. So stop by and hang out and see if there's anything cool we're talking about.
Occasionally banana bread and tacos too.
Yeah. Oh man, when you guys, I'll bring you banana bread. Or it was pumpkin bread.
Pumpkin bread. Sorry.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other.
Ooh, pumpkin bread's good.
That's pumpkin bread shiz. That's on my baking channel. So
The spinoff. I love it.
Well, guys, I think this was a successful draft. And
It was a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure.
That was great. Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
Great to talk with you guys.
Dave, send us home.
All right, everybody. Enjoy those classic toys.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.